Welcome back to Season 1, Episode 8 of TVGP's Critical Misses. I'm your host, Boston. Joining me as always is Moonpir.
Hello.
We're here to talk about The Fate of the Furious from 2017. So we're almost caught up to 2020 here.
Yep.
As like the more recent movies, I'm sort of expecting this to have at least 2 or 3 other titles, in addition to The Fate of the Furious somewhere. Something like Fate 8 Furious, The Fated Furious, something like that.
I think when the trailers came out, this was actually the F letter 8 of the Furious. When the trailers came out, it was actually F, then the numerical 8.
That's so bad, and I love it so much.
Too fast, too furious. I mean, come on.
It's so good.
Yeah.
Yeah,
but
so
I think when they changed it for the release, for the home release, I'm pretty sure that they changed it to The Fate of the Furious.
Yeah. Which is sort of weird because all the other ones have had numbers in them, except for
this
ampersand.
One still has a number in it. It just changed it when it came out.
Yeah.
Stupid things.
So I feel like this movie and 6 are the really difficult ones for me to try and predict what's going to happen. Because after 5... Well, good.
No, I was literally just said okay.
After 5, I feel like 5 wrapped things up really well. So it's like, okay, so 6 is going to do something. And then with 7, we obviously knew that they were going to address Paul Walker's passing.
And also they very clearly told you at the end of 6 exactly what the next movie was going to be about. Right.
And this one's a little bit tough because, again, it seems like they're done. With every movie since 5, it's just sort of like, yep, we won, and all right, see you later. That's the end of the movie.
Okay. So you don't know anything about this movie at all?
No. I'm gonna assume Vin Diesel is back. I'm gonna assume the big 3 are back. Vin Diesel, Jordana Brewster, and whoever plays Letty. I don't remember her name right now.
Michelle Rodriguez.
Thank you, Michelle Rodriguez. To me, those are sort of the big 3 now that sort of Paul Walker has passed, and The Rock, his inclusion seems questionable. Obviously, the next thing is Hobbs and Shaw, where it's like, all right, the family will be over here. You can go do your own big dude thing over there.
Okay. What's the plot of this movie, Boston?
God, I have no idea. I'm assuming. I should probably say at this point, probably the whole family is back. Like, we've got Ludacris, we've got Roman will be back. Who else is part of the family now? That's kind of the core. Once you remove Brian and The Rock, I guess that's pretty much all of them.
Well, The Rock is in this movie.
Shock. Okay. Interesting.
Count how many scenes him and Vin Diesel share during the filming of this movie. Take a drink every time you do, every time they share a scene. And guess what? You'll be stone cold sober at the end of this movie.
I was going to say, you probably won't have any drinks.
Yes.
Yeah.
Pretty much.
The only thing I can assume is that probably, again, there's some, government skunk works thing that the family has stumbled upon, and as a result, the whole team needs to come out of retirement yet again to lend their car driving / now blowing stuff up skills to resolve the issue. Probably it got to be great if Mr. Nobody was back, because he was just kind of dumb enough and crazy enough to fit really well in these movies. But I'm sort of gonna assume that he isn't.
Okay, so we don't think Mr. Nobody's back.
That feels like an unfortunate one and done for the franchise. Where it's like, here's a super cool character, whole lot of fun. You'll never see him again.
Yeah, very much like Suki from
Yes. Oh,
Fast
man.
2.
Maybe she'll be in Fast 10. Bring her back.
She won't be.
Bummer.
She will not be in the slightest. I think she's pretty much done.
Okay.
I'm surprised she was in the movie, to be honest, from the first place, considering she's the sister of a famous singer, I believe.
Okay.
And that's her whole claim to fame. But
Right.
I thought she was pretty good in it, but
Yeah.
that's neither here nor there. Okay, so you don't think Mr. Nobody's back? We know Shepard died last time.
Right.
He was Mr. Nobody's right-hand man.
You're right.
What about other appearances? Who else do we think? Come on.
So I think one of
Assuming
the
the family, we got that. The family's in it. That's fine.
Yeah,
We know the Rock's in
one
it.
of the big question marks is probably Shaw, just because I know there's a Hobbs and Shaw movie.
Let's rewind.
Sure.
Which Shaw?
Deckard.
Because we need to clarify, because there's more than one in this.
That's fair.
In this thing.
The Deckard, I feel like, is probably the only Shaw player in these films anymore. If the younger Shaw comes back, then that'd be a much larger surprise. But I feel like with Hobbs and Shaw sort of looming in the distance as our next movie, I feel like there's even chances that he just won't appear in this movie and they'll address it in the spin-off, or he'll play some sort of part as maybe a bridge between the last movie, this movie, and the spin-off movie.
Okay. Yeah. So we're expecting Deckard. No, wait.
Deckard, yeah.
Deckard's the younger brother, isn't it? Or is Deckard the older brother?
Deckard's the older
literally forgot.
Well, and it's funny because they never really reference them
it's Deckard.
by first name. It's just Shaw.
Sure.
So,
yeah. The entirety of 6 was spent talking about Shaw.
Right. I feel like there's probably I feel like just like last movie, I'm sure there's going to be someone in opening credits that I'm like, wait, you got like Helen Mirren in this movie? Like, what is she doing? And then she eventually turns into like the Mr. Nobody replacement, where it's like, how did you get her in this movie? And how did you get her to just like chew this scenery? What sort of dark magic do you have? So I'm waiting for that, or like Pierce Brosnan to show up and be like, hey, what's up? I'm running a government in the shadows. I'm Pierce Brosnan. Just like,
so, did you just pull Helen Mirren out of your backside?
I did, yeah. Why? She's
in this movie.
What? As we talked about last week, or last episode, I don't look at anything in this movie. I try and find like a text, like a character-free poster to show here on the video version. I have no idea. I know it's just in this movie. This franchise is so stupid. I love it.
My favorite thing is she's not even the only huge name you're gonna see during this.
Oh my god,
so many big names.
I'm just waiting to see who's going to show up in like Fast 9. It's just like, how'd you get Obama in here? Like, President Obama's like, hey, what's up?
I'm sorry, but the fact that you literally pulled Helen Mirren out of nowhere is like, what? No way did you actually just do that. Because I know because like we know, like people listening might not realize. I know that you go into these as blind as you possibly can.
Yeah, that's half the fun for me. Is like, I know as little as I possibly can. Like, no trailers, no images, no text descriptions, nothing. Because for me, the surprise is more than half the fun. Especially when we're recording this first half and saying like, here's the crazy stuff I think's gonna happen, and then the second half is, I didn't even know that wasn't even the craziest thing that happened. They jumped cars out of an airplane. The hell?
So let's talk about Helen Mirren really quick. So last time we talked about how like some people in celebrity world just started saying, you know what, I don't even care if it's for 2 seconds. I'd love to just be a part of that movie franchise to have some fun, and that's exactly what Helen Mirren did.
That's great.
She attended the premiere for Furious 7, loved it, and then talking about wanting to be just even just to go on for like a 2-second role,
Right.
stick her face in, have a couple of lines, and then walk away.
Right.
And then she reiterated that on the Graham Norton show.
Mm-hmm.
And Vin Diesel heard about it and then wrote her apart in the movie.
That's really good. Plus, also, like, if Helen Mirren says, like, hey, I'd like to be in your movie, it's like, yeah, man, come on over. Whenever you want. Like, we'll find a scene for you. Just show up someday. We'll stick you in a car.
Yeah. Wait until you see the opening credits. I can't remember in the opening credits in this if it does as many reveals as it possibly could.
Right.
Because there are some hilariously stupid names in this and also in Hobbs and Shaw.
Okay.
Like some of the names they start pulling out is insane.
Yeah.
So we don't know the villain. We don't know the plot.
Right.
You literally don't know anything about this movie at all. And that is astonishing to me because when this thing came out, obviously everyone thought the same thing. Everyone's like, oh, what's going to happen? Where
like, what are you going to do?
How long until they go to space? Which, by the way, is going to be soon.
Okay.
Give it
okay,
3 more movies and they'll be in space. That's where I think. Like
that's where Fast 10 goes.
I wouldn't be surprised if it went there with Fast 9 because they've got a jet engine on a Jetta.
Perfect. Let's go.
So why
Let's
not?
go to space. Well, and that's sort of we're getting close to wrapping up season 1 here. This is our second to last movie we have here, and then we'll do a ranking episode, and then we have a bonus episode, a bonus movie to go along at the end. And it's sort of interesting because I feel like after Fast 5 with the vault heist scene, I feel like that's the big set piece that everybody has really talked about. And after that, the review of all the movies is kind of the same, where it's like, God, this was so dumb, and it's like my favorite movie of the year. It was incredible and just the dumbest, and I love it. Like, there's no real specifics of like, oh, they did this, and then oh my God, then like there's nothing really that. It's like, yeah, man, you know what you're getting into. More of that. It's great. This one's almost 3 hours long. Yeah, I don't know how long this one is.
This one's long. This is one of the long ones. Honestly, it's like the funny thing is for me, this movie was built around the trailer.
Okay.
Because this movie was 100% about, wait, that is happening? How is that happening? Why would that happen?
Why are they there?
Why would X person do this?
Right.
And the trailer just 100% fueled the how does A lead to B lead to C in this movie? And
like now I have to go see it to figure out what the hell's going on.
Yes. Fast 9, the trailer is just, look, spoiler alert, Dom's brother is back.
Right. This car has a grappling hook. What?
Yes. Oh, I'm sorry. Here's a jet fighter that's got a car magnet on the bottom of it. Right. Why not? Yeah. Things happen in this movie. Some interesting things.
Okay.
I can't literally. So I want to be the trailer for you. I want to say this happens, and then let you try and figure out why.
Sure.
But I don't know if that's going to improve or diminish the movie.
Well, now that I know that Helen Mirren is it, like I don't need anything else. She's going to be in it. That's great. It's interesting because this is our last mainline movie in the series, and we'll do the first of maybe probably the only planned spinoff. There's a woman focused spinoff in the works too for a Fast Saga spinoff, but this is it's sort of bittersweet because this is kind of our last full Fast Saga movie, especially with the Fast 9 getting delayed until April 2021, which I guess we'll have to revisit season 1 when that comes out. It's just
a retrospective.
Yeah. Season 1, episode 11.
Hey, I've already said multiple times, I watch these movies every single year. Guess what I'm going to be doing next March?
That's right.
I'm going to be watching the Fast series.
Season 1 Redux. Yeah. All right, that's all my thoughts here before we watch the movie. Do you want to go watch this thing?
Yeah, sure. Why not? Let's go see this movie.
All right. We have seen the film. We have watched Fate of the Furious, and we have thoughts. I have less notes here than last time.
Considerably less than for 7 and 6, and also 5.
Yeah, we try not to get our thoughts here before we start. Obviously, because it's like we meet and we have a little chat before we start recording, and we both had the thought that we're both kind of whelmed.
Yep.
Fate of the Furious is fine.
Yes, I think honestly, I think especially the way you say "fine," I think it sums it up perfectly. It's not fine. It's fine.
It's fine. Yeah. You were not kidding about the opening credits of just
name after name after name after name after name.
Rapid fire people. Happy to see Kurt Russell's back. That is a highlight of this this franchise, I think. And Charlize Theron in there, and I was like, what is she gonna do? And it turns out she's probably one of my favorite villains of the Fast Saga. Shockingly. Let's starting here. This intro is really weird because
the honeymoon intro.
Yeah, and like just them dropping into where, Cuba?
Cuba, yes, Havana specifically.
Yeah, them just dropping in there. I was like, oh right, there's the honeymoon. Okay, yeah, sure, all right. And then it's just another Fast and Furious street race thing.
Yep. And get it out of the way first thing, so we don't have to worry about it for the rest of the movie.
It's like, all right, yeah, we're opening with that. I can appreciate that. Like, you're really getting into the action, and I like that there were some solid references to Buster. Where being like, I learned this. I'm Vin Diesel. I learned this from Buster. You know, like that. A couple of drops here that I thought were pretty good, and a surprisingly really good race just right at the beginning. With the
"that's not a car, that's a bomb" line is particularly hilarious. Also, fun fact, all the stuff they're talking about Cuba is 100% correct. They would fix cars with boat engines and stuff like that because of the I can't remember the word for it, but the sanctions placed on the Cuba by the US meant they couldn't get American car parts. So they would literally fix cars with whatever they had to hand, which is why they use laughing gas as NOS.
Right. Oh man, I really liked the back and forth in the race of the two motorcyclists blocking the traffic, and then the race sort of screaming through there, and then the motorcyclists kind of racing to the next intersection. I kind of liked that back and forth. Usually we just see we're racing through a town and whatever, there's cars, it's a minivan, you know, there's a kid looking out the window, whoa.
I did enjoy the stealing from the Banffcast to hear one of their particularly loved phrases. I did love the ghost ride the whip moment.
Yeah.
Where a dude just like literally gets told to ghost him. I'm thinking, is he going to kill him? No, he's going to ghost ride his whip straight into that car and basically turn it into a time bomb at that point.
Yeah, and I like that Dom doesn't even think about getting out of the car. He's just like, no, I'm going to keep riding. It's just on fire a little bit, and then when it gets all the way on fire, I'll just drive it backwards.
Yeah, well, literally the entire engine block is orange, which I love that effect, like that color effect that they do on that entire engine block, where it's just literally you can see how red hot it is, and it's just like, okay, that's pretty bad.
Yeah, and there's such a great shot. There's a couple of really great shots in this movie where I have to give it a lot of credit for that. There's a really great shot when he crosses the finish line and then veers off and it hits that retaining wall and just flips up towards the camera. That's a really great shot. Like, it's one of those little things where you could have just had it sail pew like right off into the ocean, but yeah, that was a pretty great shot.
Yeah, Dom jumps out and you get the whole, hey, celebratory crowd. You big car, I usually expect.
Which is such a weird thing to show because, and I know it makes sense when it pays off later, but it's such a weird thing at the beginning of the show because it's like, this is the 8th movie. like, I already know who Dom is, so of course he's not going to take the car. So it was sort of a
makes me
weird
laugh
thing.
based on Fast 1, because Paul Walker is the one who's talking about, I keep my car, and I get everybody's respect.
Right.
And Dom is the one laughing at him in
Right. He's like, look at this sucker.
That exact same line.
Yeah. I do like that the title card matched the movie name this time. I think this is 1 out of 1 for the second half of the Fast Saga.
Yes.
I think part of what whelmed me about this movie is, number one, I really respect that it kind of avoids the problem that I had with the previous movie, which was we're kind of slowly crawling our way towards the heist. And then when that starts, it's kind of, it really moves at that point. This movie is really, the intro is all about checking the boxes to get to the heist. And it is, here's the mission, here's a phone with secrets, here's a soccer game. Like, we'll go over all this in a minute, but like, you're kind of checking.
About the soccer game.
Yeah, like you're checking all these check boxes of, yep, this person's back. Yep, yep, we're checking out where this person's at. And it's good and bad, where it's like, you know the formula at this point, so let's just kind of get through it, which is okay, but it's kind of not
to the
great.
point where they don't actually show the heist anymore either.
Right. Where it's just like, you know what these guys are up to.
There's explosions, they stole the stuff, we were fine.
Yeah,
but yes,
I do like.
Should we talk about that soccer game?
Soccer game is really great. I really like this movie. I sort of felt a little bit cooler on Vin Diesel's character for up until he's in the jail, sort of quote unquote face to face with
You mean the Rock's
Hobbs?
character when you said that, by the way.
Sorry, yes. Yeah, up until he's in the jail cell, I felt a little bit sort of cool on him. But yeah, the soccer game where he's really feeling the spirit.
He has all these like little 10 and like 9 to 12-year-old girls do a haka of all things. And it's just like, show me your war faces as well, and it shows all of them doing their war faces, and they're like, I don't want to play anymore.
The super starched government employee coming in and be like, "Go Dragons!" Yeah, that's a really good scene.
Yeah.
I thought the introduction of Cypher was interesting because I think it a little too closely mirrors 5, 6, where I think it's 6, where Hobbs comes and says like, you know, you're gonna want to work with me by the time I leave this building. Like, here's the thing, and she very much mirrors that, where it's like, you don't know who I am and you don't really care. I have something on this phone that means you're going to want to work with me and you're going to betray your team. And I was like, wait, what?
That right there, by the way, that was the thing in the trailers. It was
I sort of guessed it
on his family and what could make him do so.
I kind of guessed it immediately, where it's like, I bet this is what Moon was talking about, where it's like, you see the trailer and it's like, oh, Dom's the bad guy now. Okay, wait, what?
Yes, it's exactly what it was. And you had like a year of people speculating as to what the cause might be.
Yeah.
Very few people got it right.
And what's so great is we've been charting the behind-the-scenes friction between The Rock and Vin Diesel for the last couple of movies. And I feel like up until this point, it hasn't really been super bad in the movie until this movie, when it suddenly is. Dom and Hobbs have an entire conversation just over phone, and it's kind of mostly just Vin Diesel in the shot, where it's just like you can also hear The Rock at the same time, and it's like, that's also not great.
Literally not in a single scene together.
No,
all.
and
even
like
on the roof at the end of the movie, it's very clearly like a little CG figurine in the background designed to look like The Rock.
Well, even during the heist, which sort of happens now, even during the heist when Dom betrays the team and steals the EMP from Hobbs, like, it's very much Hobbs is in a car upside down, and there's like a figure through the window that's blurry, and he's yelling at the figure through the window. It's like, guys, come on. Like,
Yeah.
what are you doing here? Yeah, I think you had mentioned this earlier where it's like, you don't even show the heist. It's like, yeah, they cut to the heist where the team is just escaping. It's like, we got the EMP, we did it, the whole team's here, we got our cars, let's go. No more walkie-talkies, we got some future tech, this is cool. Pew! It's just like...
It's the Fast Five moment where it's just like, we need new cars.
Right.
New cars.
Right. I got him. Here we go. Yeah, it's interesting because with these movies, there's like 2 or 3 heists now, so it's like, all right, you know what's this is a normal one. Let's give you the cliff notes. They won, hooray! Everything's great. Dom's acting weird because of course he is. Let's go do it. And it's interesting to see how much how hard the team takes the betrayal from Dom, and I think it's a real testament to how far all the actors have come by this point, that it feels really good. It feels really natural, where I don't think they could have done this even maybe in like 5 or 6 as the acting really started ramping up. But
it's definitely one of those things where I think you said it best when it came to 4, like they've settled into their characters a lot more.
Yeah.
And it's very much the same thing here, where it's like, yeah, everybody is 100% into those characters. They know who they are. You even get the witty banter between Tej and Roman when they do the crane scene at the end of the heist. It's like, yeah, we didn't tell you this for a specific reason. It's because of the plane. Well, dude, my brakes seized up. No, they didn't.
Right. And like, there's even some riffing with who's the newest character, the hacker lady?
Nobody Jr.?
No, Nobody Jr. is really great. No, the hacking lady. Yeah, Ramsey. She's our... You just perfectly encapsulated one of the last scenes in this movie so well right there.
What's that? Because she literally says to Tej, a spoiler alert for the end of the movie.
Oh, yeah, like, what's my last name?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. What is my last name? And none of them can tell her.
And I like that she's already in the mix. Like, she's already part of the crew and she's already settled in. I like Nathalie Emmanuel. I think she's a good actor, and I think she settles into it really well. Nobody Jr. is really good. I like that. It's really interesting seeing the sort of the difference between Nobody being like, yeah, I'm smooth and I don't really care, but I'm good at my job, but whatever, it's no big deal, man. Yeah. Nobody Jr. like clearly like almost having the manual open and be like, well, on page 343. The Rock
even calls him the Mr. Manual at one point.
Yeah. I'm glad that they settled on Nobody Jr. because I think that's a really great name.
Yeah.
But
also he's very green as baby poop, as the Rock calls it at one point. Right. He's just like, okay, that's fine. But yeah, Dom escapes on the plane with the EMP and Hobbs goes to prison.
So this is probably...
So we talk about the tension between these two characters first and foremost.
Yeah, I think this is where I start really liking this movie, because the Hobbs and Shaw sniping at each other between these two like clear-sided jail cells, just like crap talking each other the entire time, is throughout the whole movie is really good. Like, even after they sort of start coming to terms with each other, it's still really like this. It's like that good-natured ribbing with like a frenemy, where it's like, I'm kind of joking, but also I'm kind of not. You're the worst. Yeah. But no, it's fine.
All go, no show. All show, no go is one of my favorite lines. To which The Rock rips a bench out the wall and starts doing curls with this concrete bench. Right. It's just like, okay.
And I like Jason Statham in the cell so much because he just... Like, he's been in there for so long and he just doesn't care. And he even throws that, like, 38 inches of concrete and steel back at him. And The Rock is just like, he's like, his character is really pissed at that line. And I really like it. He's just like, okay, you got me on that one.
Statham genuinely gives off the caged animal vibe as well when he's in that cell. Like, he does a really good job of, like, portraying that, like, fast-paced pacing. It's very much like Majima from Yakuza 0, where you get the distinct impression that there's something much more serious about to go down.
Yeah.
It's like, yeah, okay, you might be in prison. We kind of know why because we saw why in the last movie.
Yeah.
But you are just itching for a chance. Itching.
Yeah. And I really like that once his jail cell gets opened, I like that Jason Statham has like a really good long action scene as he's fighting to escape the prison. Like you've seen him fight The Rock a little bit here and there, but it hasn't been anything where it's minutes of action at a time. And I like that there's this one extended scene of him just destroying everything in his path and like
the
parkouring.
Rock following suit as well.
Right.
Like it's the great example of their two styles where it's like Jason Statham's doing the dodging and the parkours and the flip-de-doos
and like exacting strikes.
Yeah, and like The Rock gets hit with a rubber bullet and just like flinches, flexes his muscles and just goes
and like Kool-Aid Man's through a wall. Like,
yes.
Yeah, like I thought that scene was actually pretty good. I wasn't really sure where they were going to go with that, but I think for me that's probably one of the standout scenes in this movie. Is you have these two characters that really hate each other, and they're racing both towards the exit and towards the chance to just beat each other's face off, and they kind of don't get the opportunity to do either. Which is
my note here literally says, "Kiss already, would you?"
Yeah, exactly. Like, just make out and get it over with. Come on. Oh God, what else do we have here?
This is what actually when we get introduced to. Basically, it looks like nobody set this whole thing up. Because he's waiting outside with a group of his guys, and you know these guys can just disappear, and that'll be fine. I did make a note here which says that the place he takes everyone to is called Nowhere.
It was really good.
Which is also funny because that's a planet in Guardians of the Galaxy where Kurt Russell plays a character in Guardians of the Galaxy 2.
That's right.
And I wrote "Nobody's Home" as part of my note for this.
It's just like, it's really dumb in a way that I really respect out of these movies, and it's nice to see them be like, of course, nobody's home base is going to be called Nowhere. It's like, of course, I love it.
It
2
makes
thumbs
perfect
up.
sense.
Yeah.
I did enjoy the top 10, the Interpol top 10 discussion here.
Roman bringing up, there were a couple of scenes in this movie where like a serious moment happens and Roman kind of throws a quick joke, and it's sort of like, you probably could have cut that because like the serious moment needed to land a little bit more than the joke did. But Roman being number 11 on the top 10 is just, number one, that's his character, and number two, he plays how upset he is so perfectly in that scene, and it's so good.
My favorite thing about this is a nice little reference for you here. Nobody goes around and counts everybody down. He's like, well, everyone in here is in the top 10. Well, almost everybody. And like, I think Tej is like number 6. I think Ramsey's number 9. Michelle Rodriguez is number 8, and whoever else is number 10. They don't say number 7. They don't say number 7 because number 7 is Paul Walker.
Oh, interesting.
And number 7 is his last movie.
Well, there's a really great line in here where someone is talking about like Brian would know what to do, and I liked it
just after the attack, I think.
Yeah, and Michelle Rodriguez is like, no, we promised not to bring Brian Ramia into this. We're not going to do that. I like this, just that little like, the characters are still here. Here is the reason we're not on the phone being like, hey man, come help us out. That was a good little throwaway line that I thought was really great. God, what? This is sort of where my notes fall apart a little.
Yeah, because this is the exposition moment. So they want to use God's Eye to find Dom so they can find Cypher, which we now know the name of Charlize Theron's character because nobody says it.
Right.
We get a bit of background information on Cypher because Ramsey says, whoa, that's a person? No, that's an organization.
Right.
And she even throws in well, you know how everyone's afraid of the hacker group Anonymous?
I like the
Anonymous
hacker
are
group
afraid of
Anonymous. I
Cypher.
was like, oh, God. Okay.
Mm-hmm. But yeah, we learn about Cypher.
Yep.
Dom and Cypher attack the building to
Yes.
get God's Eye.
A really cool scene where just like the two of them breach this. I like that nobody is even laughing about it. He's like, of course it is. That's here. And it's just like he just he's resigned to his like, they found us.
Mm-hmm. It's like, that's here.
Right.
And then the door implodes and it's just like,
yep.
Number one, perfect timing, or were you standing outside listening for someone to realize that? Number one.
Probably.
But yeah, they do the whole attack thing. The most awkward kiss ever to be performed on television / movies ever.
Yeah. Real rough.
Between Charlize and Dom, or Cypher and Dom. And then, they boogie on out of there with God's Eye. So, Cypher can't be found anymore, which is great. And so now the new plan is, how do we find somebody who doesn't want to be found? Like, nobody says in the entirety of history, only 2 people have found Dominic Toretto when he doesn't want to be found. Right. One of them is standing right in front of me, and that's The Rock. And then the other one, and he hits a button, and here's Jason Statham.
Yeah, what's up? Part of the team. Come on in, buddy.
I love how he's a part of the team, but not part of the team, because everyone hates his guts. Like, everybody hates him, which we'll get to that discussion at the end. But then we get, let's fly through this a little bit here. So we go back to the plane with Dom. We find out about Elena, number 1.
I wasn't sure. I've talked about this in previous movies where I don't really like guessing the plot. I like taking the ride. I couldn't help but guess because it had been so long since Dom got that phone. I was like, what is propelling him to do all of this? Like, what is the potential?
They do a good job here. They don't tell you what it is until like halfway through the movie.
And they don't show you anything. He gets that phone, and then all of a sudden he's just driving the Rock off the road. It's just like, what is... Yeah, we find out that Elena, with his kid, has been stolen on this plane. And it's like, oh, right. Okay. All right. Okay. Yeah, sure. The timeline sort of lines up here.
No,
okay.
It doesn't, but we'll ignore that completely.
The kid is a little bit young. Yeah.
Or a little bit old, depending on how frequently these movies take place.
Yeah, the timeline is a little bit squidgy.
But we get Elena having a conversation. We're off to New York to go and steal a nuclear football, because why not?
Right. There are some really incredible shots in this. The whole thing is like, oh, she hacks all these cars just self-driving. I love the like herding of all the cars together when they're all kind of coming from multiple locations to just take over this one particular street. I think a lot of that stuff is really cool. And then the next part where they just have them raining out of the sky is really good. It's just like, it's such a dumb idea that obviously would never be possible, but it sure looks really cool.
Yeah, and it's like multiple logic jumps here. Why is the Russian nuclear football in America? Question number 1.
Sure. Yeah. Great question.
Who knows?
Yeah.
Well, like, I like the fact that like Dom is literally just like he's a crow. He's there to pick up the remains of what is left.
Wearing his Rainbow Six Siege outfit and busting up a car.
Army of 2. Thank you very much.
Yes, that's what I was thinking. Yeah, with that mask, I was just like, oh boy, okay.
Mm-hmm. But like she does all the work herself. Pretty much all of it, like she does by herself. She hacks all the cars, makes smarmy comments as she sends people to their deaths. You might want to buckle up there.
Right.
It's like, come on.
Yeah.
But the New York sequence I think is okay. It's not my favorite.
Yeah.
But it's definitely okay. But the precursor to the New York sequence is Dom having a spark plug issue.
Yes. In like this this cool, like, he's up to something because he has a special button in his car that, like, makes his engine sound all weird. And he's like, oh, yeah, I gotta pull over and fix this. Wink. Like, it's the largest, like, wink on camera. And man, just...
And who does he go and meet? Come on.
God, he meets Helen Mirren. Like, just... It took me a minute when she shows up, and I was like, I genuinely don't know why he's meeting with her. And she drops a line of, like, of course, you've caused my family enough issues. And I was like, wait, is he, like, Mrs. Shaw? Like, and thankfully she turns out to be.
Spoiler alert, yes, she 100% is Mama Shaw, which is
so good.
Amazing. I love the fact that she pulls off that Cockney gangster, like, so well.
Mm-hmm.
But yes, Dom ends up stealing nuclear football after chaos and anarchy throughout New York.
Which would probably... I will forget where else this is in the movie. I like that when they're about to go do Ice Road Truckers later, someone is like, hey man, why can't the Russians just help us? And nobody is like, well, there was sort of an incident with the defense minister of Russia on American soil, so they're not talking to each other now. Wink. It's just like, all right, cool. Like, you
very good little
tied it all together.
Yeah, it throws everything off. Like, it's pretty solid.
Yeah.
And during the whole process, like, we get the team who are already in New York, doing the chase with Dom. Let's see if we can't capture Dom.
That's a really great shot when Dom, like, he has the football and he's leaving and he turns the corner and Cypher is like, where's your team? He's like, I think I found them. And just seeing them across that entire alley, like the entrance of the alleyway, is sort of like, all right, man, like you're missing the other half of this movie, and that's okay because now they're here and they're about to do an incredibly cool scene.
Yeah, and like it's car wars where they're all trying to like stop him from using his
car
ridiculous car. Yes, there's car harpoons. Everybody has their own things.
The car harpoon,
a Bentley,
for some reason, is like the coolest thing for me in this movie. I don't know why, and I don't know what like pokes the pleasure center in my brain, but like I like seeing this like this rodeo of everybody trying to stop Dom from going, and Dom making the dumbest faces in the car while he's like trying to like wrench his steering wheel. It's really great in a way that I'm not sure I could completely explain, but I really like it.
It's also great because, of course, during this whole process, there are tires melting.
Yeah.
Legitimately melting.
Yeah. Like a lot of fire, a lot of tires melting, and it's like it's the equivalent of like pushing. In most movies, it would be, I'm pushing my body as far as I can. It's the end of the original Ghost in the Shell movie where she's ripping off the Tachikoma's thing and her arm muscles are like ripping off of her body. It's very much that, where it's like, but the Fast and Furious, of course, it's cars. So it's like, I'm pushing this car to its limit.
Yeah. And he like fakes out newbie and like escapes and like they do the whole.
I love that nobody Jr. is behind the wheel of a car. It's like, what conversation led to this dude getting behind the wheel of a car with the rest of these like professional drivers? Just go sit at home.
Yeah. But yeah, I mean, it's a pretty solid sequence. The only person who really keeps up with him is Letty. And it ends in a car crash, shockingly enough, where everybody... I'm not going to lie, I love the old Safe Chase callback when he like reverses between two of them who've got them harpooned.
Yeah.
And then both cars just like splatter roofs against each other and then fall to the ground.
That was really great
well
shot.
done.
Yeah.
And then, like, big car crash. His car is done. Everybody else's car is done. So he grabs the suitcase and leaves.
I like that he just picks it up and cooks. Like, he just starts sprinting.
And the closest person to him, number one, Jason Statham, good old Shaw, who gets shot and killed.
Right. It's just like, wink. I love that. It's just like, oh, we found him. Blat, blat. It's just like, oh, okay. All right.
How did you react when he actually shot Jason Statham? Because he even uses the Statham line. You think he's going to be a tricky fight?
Right. Blah, blah, blah. I was just like, what? Like, it's very much one of those moments, like, this movie is trying to tell you, like, hey, stuff has gotten real. And it's one of those things where it's like, okay, cool. It's like when The Rock shoots the bad guy at the end of 5, where it's like, hey man, blat blat, keep on moving. It's just like, this is, you're like a speed bump in this story.
Yeah, and Letty ends up getting the suitcase.
Mm-hmm.
And Dom refuses to kill her, and then Game of Thrones guy refuses to kill her as well.
Right. Who, I like that Game of Thrones guy, and I didn't remember until later. I was like, what have I seen him in recently? Oh, the 6th Fast Saga movie.
Yes.
Yeah. Weird.
Like, he is really, really solid. Like, I think he's genuinely great in this.
Great hair, by the way.
Yeah, and beard. Yeah. That orange beard is just so good.
Rocking it.
But yeah, so he refuses to kill Letty, and guess what? Elena's dead.
Right. Yeah, just like, it's one of those things where, like, you knew she had to die for her to be getting out of the picture so that Dom and Letty can have the kid that they were talking about at the beginning of the movie. It's like, this character has to be written out of the movie some way. So I guess Cypher, in Fast Saga villain ways that they typically do, just gonna kill him. Just like, this person is really bad, so like in a lot of movies that somebody would kick a dog and be like, "Me, get out of my way, dog."
Yeah,
you know, it's very much
case,
like,
it's let's kill a loved one instead.
Right. It's like, you know, if you didn't feel, I like Cypher a lot because I think how Charlize Theron plays this character reminds me a lot of Owen Shaw, where it's like this calm and calculated and cool personality that I think fits really well in these movies as the antithesis of the family. Where the family has all these feelings and passion and, you know, a lot of muscles. It's this person where it's like, I can just, sorry, as Brooklyn Nine-Nine says, big hard boobs on men and women. You know, like, it's just this sort of thing. I like that there's this character that's very much like, I can control the entire planet and you can never track me down, and I got this. And then for them to just be like, I definitely am bad, blat.
Yep, and then goes into the whole choice theory discussion, which is a real thing, which I didn't know was a real thing until this movie came out.
Right.
Which is an interesting concept, but please go away with your nihilistic viewpoints. Thank you very much.
Right. Not the time, Cypher.
Yes. It is the time to talk to a Dom about it, but it's not the time in 2020 to discuss that particular thing.
Yeah, and I like that she has this like accountability plan of like, here's what I'm stealing these nukes for. It's to hold the world powers accountable. And what I wrote down is that plan sounded an awful lot like a Bond villain plan, where it's like,
no. You know what it sounds like? It sounds like a Metal Gear plot.
It's true. Nobody said proliferation though, which I'm a little bit bummed about. It very much sounded like, I'm going to control all these super powerful things so nobody can use any of them. It's like, sure. Okay.
Yeah, like the time where they hoarded water in the middle of the desert. Yeah.
Right.
I know exactly what you're talking about. Yeah. Quantum of Solace is so bad. It's so bad. But yes, it's a Bond/Metal Gear plotline now.
And at this point in the movie, my notes stop completely up until the big 2-person reveal in the airplane later. Okay, so I have this big gap of like, well, this is really good. Like, I'm just watching the movie. So
we've got the Russian base attack by Dom, number one, in his snow charger, as it is actually called.
With just like the giant EMP on the left side and just a giant belching flame on the right side, where it's like, all right, cool. All right, I can get behind that.
And my favorite thing about that is I have that car in Rocket League because they've released that car in Rocket League.
Ah, that's pretty cool. Does it have the EMP on back?
It has the EMP on the side, and it has a big flame thing coming out the other side too.
I love it.
It's pretty solid.
2 thumbs up.
But yeah, it's Russian base attack by Dom. Meanwhile, the family are all on the mountaintop watching, trying to figure out exactly what's going on.
Like they realized where he was going, but it's one of those things where it's like, what is he going there for? Like in the end of the world, like what could possibly be there?
Yeah, turns out it's a sub with nukes. Who knew? Russian
Dope
nukes
sub.
specifically.
That's the good ones.
Yes.
All the movies love the good nukes.
And yeah, we get like the big attack on the base. We get the family deciding that they need to go down there and stop Dom because he's basically just low-jacked this submarine by using an EMP underneath it.
That's the best way of putting it. Like he just takes control of this. She's like, yeah, you gotta get under there and do the EMP. So he just like hangs out under there, pushes the button, and Cypher's like, that sub is mine now. It's like,
And then the sub immediately
okay.
starts spinning up as well, and like,
yep. It's like, let's take
going,
this.
just like,
Let's cheese it. Let's get this sub and go.
it's like, okay, sure, why not?
Yeah.
And the family attack, all with their specialist vehicles, which nobody junior at this point has realized that there are no rules.
Right. Yeah, that's true. He had his like turning moment, and nobody senior's like, that's my boy. I'm proud
He
of
actually
you, buddy.
says to The Rock, I knew he'd get it in 3. Rule number 3 is there are no rules.
Yeah, you could clearly tell they had like a bet in the background. There was also a good scene between Hobbs and Shaw where it's just like, we're ribbing each other, we're going to get close to fighting.
Yeah.
And then it's like, you joker.
It's the Hobbs realization of like, he's got Shaw's file and he's like, British commander, special forces.
Right. The highest
blah, blah, blah,
honor.
Highest honors.
For
and then how do you become like a traitor? And he's like,
Yep.
Shaw's like, it's really weird, isn't it? How like a DSS agent with the Silver Star could suddenly become a wanted criminal. Really strange how that happens, isn't it?
Weird.
Maybe listen when we talk about how the governments go after their toughest agents.
They very much have like the we're not so different, you and I sort of scene.
Yes.
But like, thankfully they don't say that, but thankfully they very much like, they angrily install an engine in a car and they're like, you're all right.
Yeah, they do that and they're like, when this is all over, by the way, I'm going to kick those pretty teeth all the way down your throat.
Right.
It's like, okay, sure, why not? But yeah, everyone's there, everyone's got their vehicles.
Ice Road Truckers.
Roman is driving a Lamborghini. A bright red Lamborghini.
With no snow tires, no nothing.
No chains, no nothing.
So stupid.
Sure, why not?
It's great.
But yes, they get the submarine is on the way out. Dom retreats to a safe distance with Game of Thrones ginger hair fella.
Yeah, Game of Thrones sniper.
Yes. And then the family go and try and stop the sub. There is a big, huge chase. After the sub, there's a whole bunch of stuff going on. The Russian military is there, along with the
There's a lot of good yelling about, like, I can't read Russian. What am I supposed to pull? It's like, pull something. It's like, that's not it. That is, do not. Michelle Rodriguez is just beating the crap out of, like, 30 dudes.
Same with The Rock. Great. They're in the control tower trying to help Ramsey, and then you get the hacker battle between Ramsey and Cypher. Oh, she's good. She's not that good, though.
Yeah, you're not as good as I am.
Yeah, I love the fact that Ramsey's doing it, and Cypher's doing it.
I would really like whatever kind of keyboard that is. I would use the hell out of that. That's cool.
And then we get Dom's secret plan.
Dom's secret plan.
So, yeah. Do you want to take? I'll let you take this one because this is one of my favorite sequences in the movie. My wife and I went to see this in the theaters, pretty much because I forced her to sit down and watch all of the Fast and Furious movies with me, so we could go and see this one in the theaters.
Right, you got to do your
similar
homework.
To what I'm doing it to you.
Right. And I will pass it on to my children and say, you have come of age. You are now 13. Sit down and watch these ridiculous movies.
Yes. And while watching this movie, I spoke about it with my wife, and this is undoubtedly her favorite scene in the entire series. This is her favorite sequence.
Okay. And I'm a little fuzzy on what happened because I'm like, I watched it.
Specifically talking about the plane because Dom is on the cliff waiting for some form of go-ahead.
Yeah.
And we're waiting for his secret plan to unfold, and then we get a cut to the plane, and the plane opens at the rear, and then two people in like jetpacks show up.
And like, of course, Deckard Shaw takes off like his helmet or whatever, and it's like, yeah, of course he wasn't dead. And then friggin' Owen Shaw takes his off, and is like, yeah, like, yeah, this is so cool. Like, I wrote down, I did not see Owen Shaw coming back. That's awesome. Like, I'm sitting there in bed watching this on my phone being like, yeah, it's so cool. And then just like Jason Stathaming all the way up to the baby and then all the way back in just, God, it's so good.
It's an amazing sequence. The baby moments are particularly good. Like him with like the baby carrier, and he's kicking the crap out of these dudes like one-handed with a baby stroller under one arm.
Was that you or him?
Else.
Oh, it was him. Him saying like, you were gonna shoot a baby?
Yes. Let me just tell you what, you don't want to see this bit, and then it's just him in the background smashing this dude's head into the couch.
Really good.
And then like goes up to him and is like, sorry about that, I was a little bit uncomfortable. No, they smile. And then the baby smiles at him. It's like, it's so good.
I love Jason Statham so much. He's just, he's one of my favorite action actors of all time. He's just, and it's because of scenes like this where it's just like, you can do both sides of the acting at the same time, where it's like, who's my little guy? Who's my little guy? And then like, shooting 8 bullets and it kills 30 dudes somehow.
Yes. It's a great sequence. Talking about extended combat sequences, you've got your wish 100% for Jason Statham in this
just
moment.
Him against a plane full of idiots.
And like his brother's just going to the cockpit and then like waiting for the go-ahead, and it's just like, cool. Yeah, we got this. The plane's mine now, by the way, says Owen Shaw. Right. He's like, yeah, it's my plane now.
Right. I got the key card. We'll both do the swiping. Let's go.
Right.
Yeah.
Such a good sequence.
Yeah, and then as soon as the baby has been secured, Dom is like, all right, now I can sort of unleash the beast, and kind of goes nuts. And it's like,
you made me miss my shot.
Right.
I did make a note here though, which is as soon as the two brothers show up on the plane, we get the flashback sequence to Helen Mirren talking like, number one, Deckard Shaw getting killed, pulled out into the hospital, and then getting woken up by his mother. Helen Mirren.
And the guy who blocked Dom is the guy that Dom won the race against in Cuba at the beginning. It's like, all right, now we're putting the whole thing together. All right.
And the two paramedics are the guys from Fast 5.
Yes. The two Spanish guys is really great. Seeing them back, just sort of like, all right, guys, what's up? Come back for another 30 seconds. Helen
Mirren gives like this whole speech about how he's supposed to look out for his brother. And, it wasn't Owen's fault when he went for the devil's bumhole or whatever that thing's called.
Right.
Which...
And I love Jason Statham going, the God's eye. Just like this. And Jason Statham's last line when when he sees that his mom is fake crying, he goes, Every time. I love that little line where it's just like, oh, she got me again. Oh, she's good.
Yeah. And that reveals the whole like plot behind the plot going on here.
Yeah.
And that's when Dom joins the family.
Yeah. Rejoins. Everybody's a happy family again.
Sub-chase, heat-seeking missiles, trying to stop the sub from escaping, blah, 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 action, explosions.
One of my other favorite shots of this movie is the sub breaching the ice. That's an incredible shot of just this giant thing just like coming. Really great shot. But a lot of that is sort of like, all right, the cars are going to escape and everybody's going to be fine. There's going to be a couple near misses. This time it was Letty. And it's just sort of like, all right, yeah, we're kind of checking the check boxes here, and it all looks cool, and the action is great, and the soundtrack. And Tyler Bates always makes a great soundtrack.
And The Rock kills a car with a torpedo.
Yeah, he sure does. There's so many really, like, it's a pretty cool scene, but when you say it out loud like that, it's really stupid in a way that I feel like when people call these movies dumb, I feel like those are the scenes where it's like, it's just the Rock walking around LA with just a minigun. No big deal.
Yep.
Another day in the family.
Sliding along on bare feet on ice that's breaking apart, directing a torpedo at an enemy vehicle.
Right.
Roman using a car door to knock somebody off and then suddenly becoming the best shooter ever with the line, who's number 11 now? Is pretty solid.
I did like him doing that shooting, and I was sort of like, oh, all right, he's been practicing. He's been he's obviously the butt of the joke for most of these movies, but movie over movie, kind of in the background, his character is becoming a better driver, becoming a better. He knows more about hacking now. He's apparently getting better at shooting. It's like, all right, it makes sense why he's part of the family, cause not just because he's fun to be around. Like, he can get stuff done.
Yeah, it's very much the Tej moment from 6. I think it was
Right.
6, maybe 7. 7. When they're in the United Arab Emirates, and he's like the hacker in the basement. He's like, no, dude, no, and then kicks the crap out of that guard who comes up. And he's like, yeah, okay. Now he knows martial arts too. Okay, sure, whatever.
Everybody in the family knows everything.
Yes, but yeah, they stop the sub by annoying Cypher enough to where she launches a heat seeker at them, which Dom leads away, does the sweet 180 up the snow ramp.
Yep.
And then brings that heat seeker straight back to the sub.
Yep. Jumps the
Big
sub.
Explosion.
Right.
Yes, it jumps the sub. Huge explosion. The sub's about to blow up. Dom has jumped out of the car. He's rolling on the ice, and he's 30 feet away from this giant sub about to explode.
Yep. Out in the open.
Out in the open, and then what do we get?
We get the family protecting him with their cars. It's sort of like, okay, this is a cool scene. It's again like the car harpoon scene, where it's they're drawing these parallels between we're doing with cars what we would do with people in other action movies, where it'd be like, oh, there's this glass raining down upon us, and Dom needs to be protected, and we'll pile on him with our bodies. And it's like, no, this time we're blocking him with all of our cool cars, which the fire probably would have gone under, but that's not the point anyways. But
we won't go into the scientific details.
Yeah, still looks pretty cool.
Yeah, and it's time to get my selfie on is a particularly good line.
Yeah. That's one of the good Roman sort of throwaway jokes in the movie, I think.
Yeah, this is all classified, right? You know that, right? And he's like, not today, it ain't.
Not today. It's so good. And I think that leads right into the
rooftop.
The regular
the Switch advertisements.
Yeah, your Switch ad. You have to end every movie with everybody having a nice dinner. And this time it is Jason Statham bringing the soon-to-be-named child to Dom for him to meet, which was a really great scene, and I think a great bit of acting from Vin Diesel, where you don't expect him to be vulnerable like that, because I don't think he's really super shown it, except for this movie. And I think he does a really good job between meeting a kid for the first time, being super pumped about it, and like having Letty meet him for the first time and announcing the kid's name. I had a 50-50 bet on this in my own head, whether
Paul
or not
O'Brien. Yeah,
Paul versus Brian, and little Brian is the new member of the family, the Toretto family. And I think that's pretty much it. I think it's credits after that, right?
Yes, Vin Diesel does Grace.
Yeah, that's right. That's right. Yeah, and there's no end credits thing, which I was sort of surprised about with how late this movie came out. That was sort of the thing at that point. But
honestly, I think at this point in time, though, they didn't know what they were going to do next. Because I think this is a recovery step from everything that happened at the end of 7.
Yeah, and
from what I understand, I think 7, 8, and 9, 8, 9, and 10 were already written. They were already in the can, ready to start shooting. And then what happened with 7 happened with 7.
Right.
So they had to do a whole bunch of reworking. So I think at this point they didn't know where they were going to go. And you've seen at least part of the trailer for number 9. So at this point you know who comes back. And you cannot end 8 with a teaser of who returns in 9. You just can't.
Yeah, and I feel like... So I watched after I was done watching this movie, I watched the trailer for 9 again, because one of my predictions was going to be, we didn't see Cypher die. I'm assuming she's going to come back, because most of the villains have here's our big movie, and then the next movie we kind of hand the baton to the next villain, but we're still sort of in the mix, or we're going to become part of the family as the family continues to grow movie over movie. And I feel like when 8 finished, either script writing or shooting. I feel like the big Han thing in the 9 trailer probably wasn't even a thing yet. Otherwise, they would have done like just a quick wink and a nod with another photo and a dossier again.
Yeah. At that point, you've got to sort out everything that happened in the end of 7, the off-screen politics going on between The Rock and Vin Diesel. You've got a whole bunch of stuff you've got to get cleaned up so you can move on to the next thing.
Right. Yeah. I think my review still stands that this is a fine movie. It certainly is. It sits in that middle ground where there's a couple of great scenes, there's some great acting, there's some really cool car stuff. There's everything in it is good, but nothing in it, even if there's a couple of good shots, nothing in it is great. And that's fine because, it's fine, but it's not, I don't think it sits in like the top 3 or so of the, we'll do ranking in a couple of episodes, but we'll have our final ranking thoughts. But I think it's a solid movie. It's definitely not one of those movies where you finish it and you go, okay, I wasted my time. I didn't even feel that way about 4, even though 4 is really rough.
I'm guessing 4 still sits at the bottom for you.
Yeah, because 4 is a mess. And I feel like even that this movie isn't great, it's good. It's not a messy movie. Like it has, like I said, it checks all the check boxes. You get a couple of heists. You get some cool stuff. A sub jumps out of the ice. Like you get some really great stuff from about 400 of Hollywood's best actors all stuffed into one movie. Like you kind of, no matter, it's like bad pizza. It's still fine. It's still a good movie.
I think when we finished watching 6, I think you said, no, these have officially become big, huge, dumb blockbuster movies.
Yeah.
I would argue that it officially becomes a big, dumb blockbuster movie right here.
Yeah.
Because this is the movie where it feels like, let's just do huge set pieces for the sake of huge set pieces. Like, at least with 6, there was well thought out plot and stuff behind each of those. Like, we talked like 5, 6, and 7 all had really deep character moment, action sequence, really deep character moments, action sequences. This feels like action sequence, little bit of a moment, action sequence.
I need a building to blow up in every act. Go write that movie.
That's how this one feels to me.
Yeah.
And I do think it suffers a little bit for it. I don't think this is as strong as the rest.
No.
Especially considering what you've just come off of. Like, you go from the lowest of the lows with 4 to the highest of the highs with a 5.
Right.
And don't get me wrong, 6 and 7 are not as good as 5, but 6 and 7 to me are still really up there.
Yeah, they're solid movies.
I think, you said yourself, you watched the trailer for 9, so did it feel good having Cypher in that trailer where you could see, oh, okay.
Yeah, and it's kind of... when I watched the trailer originally, and like the genesis of Critical Misses overall, especially season 1, was me watching that trailer and seeing everybody freak out about these movies and being like, what is everybody smoking? Now I know because I'm smoking it too. So like seeing Cypher come back, seeing everybody from Tokyo Drift coming back. Like,
for the record, that's tire smoke that he's inhaling, just so we all know.
A little bit of Nas. But like, I didn't recognize Charlize Theron in the trailer when I originally saw it, and now I'm like, oh, that's Cypher. Oh, that's this person. Hey, it's that guy. It's like this rapid fire,
John
like,
Cena.
Right? Yeah, like, here's John Cena. It's Dom's brother. Yeah, sure, why not? I think I'm definitely excited about Fast 9. We still have another movie here before we do our ranking, which we'll get into next episode. But I am excited for there to be more Fast Saga movies now that it, as of 2020, is officially the Fast Saga. But I am worried that the more movies they make, the further it gets into what we saw being really good / bad in this movie, like you were saying, with it being a big Hollywood action popcorn film. And again, not bad, but kind of not.
It doesn't have the heart.
Yeah, and it kind of doesn't have. It still has the family and like everybody's there, but I felt like, especially with this movie, you're checking all the check boxes where it's like, yeah, we're getting the heist, we'll do this, and then, you know, there's a couple of twists here and there, but like, it's not formulaic because it's Fast and Furious and it's just crazy. But you can kind of start drawing parallels between this and a lot of tropes in action movies, and I think for me that's where it starts getting a little bit like, it was still good, but like,
yeah,
not 100% of what I'm looking for in the Fast Saga movies.
I mean, that's one of the reasons why I like 5, 6, and 7 so much, is because they lean into the tropes, but then they do something unexpected. Like, 5 is a heist movie, and like you said at one point, the plan goes correctly, and you show the plan going correctly, or the plan goes wrong, and you show the recovery of the plan.
Yep.
You tell the plan, it goes wrong, or you don't tell the plan and it goes right. And they tell you the plan, and you spend 2 hours of that 3-hour movie trying to get in touch with the plan, and then the last hour is just throw the script out the window. By the way, here's a safe chase.
Right.
Then, 6 is like, yeah, this dude's an elite driver too, but guess what? He's got a car that flips cars.
Right. And then here's a tank. It just...
And then 7 is like, this dude is an expert in tracking people down and hunting them. And it's a cat and mouse game where both sides are the cat and the mouse at the same time.
Right.
Like, it does something different each time, whereas this definitely feels like a checkbox done, big set piece done, buildings falling down done, this that done.
You're gonna want to work with me, check. It just it's got all the tropes, and I think it's still a great movie. Like, I missed like 45 minutes of notes here in my file just because I was sitting there watching the movie and I forgot to write stuff about it. So like, it's still a really great film. It's just kind of, I think 9 and 10 are both going to be interesting because it seems like we're recording this here in almost smack dab in the middle of 2020. It's June 14th. So at this point, we know that there is a 9 that's done, and because of coronavirus, it's delayed until April 19th, 2021, if I remember correctly, or like April 9th or something. And we know that there's going to be a 10, though I don't know if there's a script or anything. It's just sort of like, oh yeah, everybody's come back for a 10, But yeah, I think 9 and 10 are both going to be really interesting because I think either they kind of just wrap it up at the end of 10 and maybe spin it off into little Brian gets his own family for another set of movies or something, or they kind of make 400 of them. I'm not entirely sure which one is better, but yeah. But our next movie is the first spin-off movie. We're going to watch Hobbs and Shaw. That will be our last contractually
obligated Fast and the Furious movie.
That's right.
We should refer it to.
Yeah, the best kind of film. We'll talk about that next episode. But this is the end of the Fast Saga proper movies that we have available to us right now. Hobbs. I think someone asked me about this. Like, are you going to watch all this other stuff? Are you going to watch the animated show? There will probably be some series in Critical Misses where we wrap up some of the other stuff in, that aren't, maybe I'll be like, oh, here's a half an hour short that's relevant to some stuff. I know there's stuff in the Fast Saga that was like that. Not covering any of that stuff this time.
Dude, why aren't we playing the Fast and Furious arcade game? That's all I want to know.
God. Yeah. I did watch, when it came out a couple months ago, I did watch a couple episodes of the Fast and Furious animated show, and it's bad. It's real not good. So we'll definitely not be watching that. But next we're going to watch Hobbs and Shaw, and I'm very curious to see what that's going to be, because I know although Fate of the Furious kind of, it makes sense that they're kind of frenemies now, so you could see how that movie could potentially happen. But
if it puts your mind at ease in the slightest, this movie is also about family.
Okay.
We'll get there when we get there.
Okay. All right. I think that's any of the final things here for Fate of the Furious?
Nope. Definitely, having watched them again so close, like this put a real check on where 8 might end up sitting in my top 10 list.
Yeah. It's going to be interesting.
It's going to be tough. Top 10 list, like there's 10 of them. There isn't.
Top top 9. Yeah. All right. Well, thank you very much, everyone, for watching and listening. And we'll see you next episode. Bye.
Bye.